Hey guys, and welcome back to another Conan Exiles video. Today we're going to be building an Aesir Tavern inspired by the Fortress of Al Moriah, the new PvE siege added to Conan in the Age of War Chapter 3. This video was sponsored by Funcom themselves, and they just wanted me to show off some of the new features in the game. I was already itching to do a build with the Aesir set, so what better way than building a tavern, one of the Age of War Chapter 3's new mechanics, inspired by the PvE raid, the other new major addition. You might be wondering exactly how a Stygian fortress would inspire an Aesir tavern. Well, let me tell you. As the survivors of the Stygian raids fled their burning camps, they swore vengeance on the invaders. Camps could be rebuilt, riches reclaimed, but the survivors would first have to become strong again. They converge in the wilderness, battered groups of disparate exiles. They quash the old conflicts, to unite in the face of the army of Set. They gather, they build, and prepare for war. They ride on the fortress at Al Moriah, armies at the ready. Boulders crash through the walls and arrows pierce the heart of Stygians as they press their advantage deeper into the fortress. The survivors take no prisoners, determined to finish off the army of the Serpent. They slay the commander, and as the Viper's head is cut, the wealth of generations are recovered, and the wounds of war can begin to heal. That story is lifted directly from the Age of War Chapter 3 Battle Pass, and thus, today's build is Bridgewatch Tavern, designed as a place for those survivors to retreat after their victory. We'll be building this tavern in map square E11, looking across to the Bridge of the Betrayer. The requirements for this build are on screen now. Feel free to screenshot the details if you need to, and without further ado, let's get started. I began with the base plate, laid out in the same fashion as the blueprint I just showed you, with a combination of ceilings, pillars, and foundations. On the ground floor, I covered the gaps in the base plate below and then began on the walls. I'll build around the perimeter as shown in the blueprint, building the walls mostly one tile high with partial gables. I also included a lot of windows around the sides and used quarter pillars and vaulted ceilings on the front gate to build an arched entrance 2 tiles high, which I smoothed into the rest of the build with sloping sides. At the front, I built a small 1 tile high area which will be somewhat open air, partially enclosed by quarter pillars and vaulted ceilings. From there, I filled the walls on the partially open section and replaced some with windows, and I then fenced those vaulted open segments and built an open gable above the front section. I then built the back section walls 2 tiles high and raised another 2x1 segment out of the partial gables on either long side of the build. On the first floor, I built a strip of ceilings and used quarter pillars and vaulted pieces to support the floor above in a more attractive fashion. I then connected these ceilings to a staircase in the rear block, and then built walls up on the first floor to partially cover the ceilings. This floor is going to be significantly smaller, and I built the walls only a single tile high for now. From there I began on the roofs. Given that the lower gables are already partially or fully constructed, that makes the roofing quite simple. Generally, almost all the roofing here is open gable, which does make things quite easy. Initially I was going to keep the first floor entirely one tile high, but I chose to raise the middle section over the staircase 2 tiles high just to give it a bit of visual separation. On that main roof I also added some roof windows and wall caps. With the roofing complete, I then began to add the overhangs. I used quarter pillars and vaulted ceilings for this, as it works pretty much perfectly for the aesthetic. I added this overhang to every open gable roof, as it will add a good bit of depth to each side. I also added simple buttresses right at the back of the build behind the staircase section, as it was incredibly flat, and then I added a double door inside the entrance archway. I initially debated on stable gates, but in the end I went with doors and sloping sides as walls above, as I thought that'd be the better solution, especially considering there are sometimes roaming animals in this area. Finally, when the shell of the build was done, it was then time to of course furnish. I've decorated with plenty of the new Battle Pass items, alongside adding some extra wall caps, frontier fences and lighting outside the build, alongside a couple of tavern guards just to fend off any nearby beasts. Inside the tavern, I've decorated thoroughly to try and really capture the rustic tavern vibe. A lot of the decoration is carried by the new Battle Pass items, which really complement the Aesir and Vanir style. I've also included some items that don't necessarily fit, like Zamorian lighting and some of the hanging wind chimes, but in general I think they do kind of play into the aesthetic. I really like designs like these, but until now it used to be pretty hard to do without various building and decoration mods. However, with the Aesir extension and all the new decorations, things just generally feel right in here. I especially like the new cooking hearth, storage shelves and the Vanir Tavern counter. A standout piece for me is also the Vanir Tavern sign that can display the clan emblem and of course the custom sign underneath it. Even though it's only small, I think it does quite a lot of heavy lifting in this build, and generally it does make things feel right. In terms of the tavern system itself, it's generally fine. It's not quite perfect. I did notice some NPCs spawning in weird areas like over the water nearby, but they do have the built-in failsafe of teleporting to their seats, so it does all work out in the end. It's just a few kinks that need ironing out. On the first floor of the tavern is a smaller, more secluded area just for extra seating. I initially considered making this area a bedroom section where patrons could stay overnight in the tavern, and I think that would be a good idea if this floor were just a little bit wider, so that may be something you want to consider if you do choose to build this tavern in your own world. And there we have it, an Aesir Tavern on the Exile lands, overlooking the Bridge of the Betrayer. Thank you for watching, and of course a massive thanks to our wonderful esteemed coffee cultists for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. I really love the rustic, almost Viking style aesthetic that these taverns have, so it was great to be able to finally do this without relying on mods, and I hope you all really enjoyed the build too. Again, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.